So welcome to the next step in the BICOMmultisoft training. In this edition we're going to be looking at the combined test technique method, and this is probably one of the main reasons why people use the Multisoft Pilot, because in addition to storing patient data, you can actually do testing for specific things and store the results against the patient file as well. So for this training session, we're going to keep it very simple. We're going to just show you the quick ways of using the CTT, and then in various other training videos we'll get a little bit more advanced with it. So this is how you can use CTT on a daily basis, and in order for it to work effectively, there's a number of things that we've got to change in the settings. So if you've not done that, please follow this video carefully so that you can learn how to do it, and we're going to look at how you can connect the sound card effectively too. So I've loaded up the Multisoft Pilot. You'll notice here that I'm connected, but there is something missing now, because if we go to CTT, all these ampule trays that are stored digitally are sent to the BICOM from your computer. So the frequencies are in your laptop or your desktop computer, and they are sent to the. So for that to work effectively, you need a connection from your laptop to the BICOM, and it's not the standard USB lead, it's something a little bit different. This is a picture of the spider, we call it, which is like a plastic block with a number of wires coming out of it, and the connections are shown here for the desktop version. So you use slightly more leads on the desktop version. On the mobile version you can use exactly the same spider, but you only use the audio connection. But there is, for the mobile, also a single lead that can be used as well. So the single lead, but it does need to be one of the newer cables, not just any audio cable. So to make sure that the sounds are moving from the computer to the BICOM, you need to go to Extras, Pilot Options, and this needs to be ticked here, Measure Level when starting the program. Now it may be that we disabled this when we installed the Pilot for you, because if you don't have the audio lead connected, when you start the Pilot you get an awful static noise coming through the speakers, and that is your frequencies coming out. So if you've not had the cable connected, this will be unticked. So make sure this is ticked, so it will always look for the level when you load the Pilot. So when you load the Pilot, this screen will pop up here straight away where it says level measurement. You may also get this red text on some of when you're doing the applicator check. So don't worry about it. As long as it says level OK up here, then you're okay. Now on this particular computer, I've done this so it's showing a problem so that you know what to do. But here it's not finding the level. In fact, it's not even registering on this scale. I'm going to check my speakers, and the speakers are about 70%, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit to about 43%. Repeat measurement. Still nothing's happening. So there is a manual adjustment. Now you shouldn't have to do this much at all, but this is just how you can do it. So if we go to adjustment here, the manual adjustment setting, and you can see now that the bar's here, but it's far too high. So I'm going to move this right to the bottom, and then I'm going to press OK. Then I'm going to move it right to the top and press OK. And now you can see it's starting to look for the levels. So I'm going to just move this up to about here. And we move this wave up here. Just increase this slightly. And if you can't get it to show a green banner here, click this one here and it shows the speakers that are being used, and it's saying that the speakers are the Yeti Stereo microphone, so that's not correct. So I'm going to change this to this one and we'll press OK. So the sound should be coming through the speakers now correctly. And let's just, so can we see now that we're starting to get into the green? So just move that down a little bit. And now we're just about right here in this little area here. And if we close, you can see now this is what we need to see, level OK. Now there is you shouldn't have to make those adjustments. It should always do a quick test when you load the software and it should always come up with level OK. But now the level is OK, we're good to proceed. So everything that we click on here, the frequencies will come out of the sound card to your BICOM and everything is good. So check that you're connected and check that the level is OK. To solve any problems that you may have on connection for the audio, you need to make sure you've got the Spider or the very latest leads that we discussed, but you can also buy a USB conversion stick, and it's worth having this just in case you encounter any problems. So this is the link to get it. You can just get it on Amazon, but this gives you a backup in for whatever reason you can't be able to get the measure levels to work. So let's have a look at the kits now, a little brief tour on the kits. So we've got every kit available, digitized, and it's all stored on here. So that's why all the slightly older kits here have got a yellow icon. If it wasn't registered, it would be a grey icon. Now if it's a grey icon, you can still click on it and see the actual kit, but none of the frequencies will come out of the BICOM. The bluer colour, these are the 2018 ampules, so these are all the newer ones, updated in 2018. And at the moment we've got the 5 elements, the older 5 elements connected. If we go to the new 5 elements, you can see now that the kit is pretty much full. So we can test each one of these against the patient. In this demonstration we'll be using the biotensor because there are a lot of ampules to test, and if you're going to test each one, the EAP isn't really effective because after 5 impressions you would probably make the area sore. So you do need to use the biotensor for this ideally, and there are complex ways of testing the 5 elements, and you really need to go on the CTT course to fully understand how the 5 element kit works. But in this demonstration we're going to show you a fairly simple way of just testing each one of the particular ampules. It's worth noting that these ampules are the meridian ampules really, so you've got your circulation meridian, the small intestine meridian, and if you're familiar, if you've been on any training, the value of the, say, the small intestine meridian at the acupuncture point is actually what the organ is energetic value is, so it's a very useful way of testing. So there are a number of tests that you can use, and most people start with the 5 elements. It's the most expensive kit, but it's also the most comprehensive, and the idea is you test what element is stressed, and then the pink ampules determine what the stressor is. So for instance, if there's stress in the small intestine, you can actually then go through to see, well, was it vaccination strain, is it viral strain, is it bacterial strain, and so on. And if you find resonance on these, you then ideally need to go to the relevant test kit. So for instance, if we found stress bacterial strain stress, we would go to the bacteria test set and we test to see what bacteria it is that was stressing the small intestine. So that's pretty much how it works. The reason why it's called combined testing is because you can have multiple ampules in the input cup and multiple ampules in the honeycomb as well. So we'll show you how you can do that. If you've upgraded to the new 2.6 version, there's a different way of doing the therapy. Because there's now no longer a therapy screen here, you have to do it in the therapy section. So we'll show you how to do that. So just to start briefly testing, you need your manual to tell you what kit you test the program on. So I know from experience that the 5 elements is always tested on A. But if you have selected AI, then it's actually inverting these frequencies, and some kits have A and AI, so you need to know what that is. You can use the automatic mode, which automatically switches between A and AI, which is very useful. But I don't use the automatic mode in the 5 elements kit. And the reason being is when it's gone through every ampule, it then goes back to start testing the element. So it would compare fire with earth, earth with metal, and so on. It's quite a long process, and if you've not been on a training course, you won't understand what it's doing. So the best thing is initially to get going is just to test each of the individual meridians and the stresses involved. So we're on the right setting here, A. And if we click the first one, you need to click the ampule just once with your left button on the mouse, and you can see that this comes here. This has to be showing in order for you to test the ampule. It's like you've put the ampule in the input cup. And we're going to click test single substance. When you get a blue flashing light here, and your BICOM is clicking with the test program running, then you know that the frequencies are successfully going to the BICOM and out through the mat. So you can now begin tensor testing, either with a vertical plate with a red lead facing the patient, or the tensor test aid, or between the mat, modulation mat, and the patient. So if we get sidewards movement of the tensor, then that's resonance, and we would then go to apply. If I've got the settings here with the prompts, the screen prompts, so it actually tells you what to do. It says test a single ampule by double clicking or by using the buttons on the right. The test results can be saved by using the foot switch or clicking apply or negative. Drag and drop the ampules into the input cup and honeycomb in order to test both in combination with one another. Test programs can be selected in options, so that's the options button. So you can even have your own programs, different types of programs if you like. You don't have to use the standard 191, 192 or 197, 198. You can pick your own. So I've found resonance there. So I will click apply, and it then starts to take me down each of the meridians. So no resonance, no resonance, no resonance. There's resonance here, resonance here, no resonance, no resonance. Now the attenuation are ampules that you run at the end of a therapy when you've treated the fire meridian, just to dampen things down. But for now I'm not going to use that particular one, so I'll go negative, and we can go apply, and I'll just quickly go through all of these. So there was no resonance on the earth element, If there's no resonance on the element, it's unlikely that you'll find resonance on the actual individual meridians. But let's just simulate some of these. So now we've found the stresses in these, it's now looking to see, well, is the vaccination stress? Is the viral strain? Yep. Is the bacterial strain? No. Heavy metal strain? No. 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 Apply, yes. Apply, yes. So now I'm going to click the test single substance button again. This is like the on-off button, and it's then saying, do you want to add the tested ampules into this bottom report screen here? You can put all of them, which means every single ampule that you've just tested will end up in the bottom showing whether it was positive or negative, but that creates huge reports. So just click only positive and click OK. So now we've got a nice report showing the tested ampules. Now it's important to save this because you don't want to lose it. So I've now saved it against the patient training. If you've forgotten to load your patient at this point, you can go back to your and find your patient, load them up, and then if you save it here, it will save it against the patient record. Whenever you see your patient again, you can load previous reports, like here. You can add and delete things from here. So let's say you made a mistake, you can right click on this and go delete it. You can also delete everything in the cup, which is the input output, and also the substances in the cup. So you can delete things. Interestingly as well, if you went then, now we can see here we've got parasite strain. If we went to parasites and ran another test, the positive substances would end up in this report, and if you save it again, it will save it as a new report. So the idea is when somebody first comes, is to build up quite a list of things that you've found. Then when you start doing the therapy, things will start to disappear, and we recommend right clicking the things that no longer resonate and deleting them from the list and saving it again, and then the client can see a long list of things slowly going over the weeks, and that's really useful to do that. You can print the test off, and if we show you that, it's quite a nice looking report. You can do print preview and it will give you an idea of exactly what it will look like when you've printed it off. So if I just enlarge this, so here, probably made it a bit big now if I go to 150%. So here you can see the items that were positive, what test program was run, the amplification and the therapy mode, so A, and what it was that resonated. Now you might want to print this off and put it with your own records. A word of warning, we don't give these out to patients because it's purely just so that we know what to test. It might be that once we've run a therapy, some of these no longer show up, so there's no point giving people a report of something that might no longer apply to them. And also some people have gone to the doctors and said, look, I've told you I had all these problems. And of course, because it's a bioenergetic test, it's not the same as a regular test that the doctors would give you. So we've done that, we've saved these things. Now thinking about combinations of things, you might want to test, well, if I do these 3 ampules together, so if you wanted to test these things together to see if the patient requires those all together to be treated, you can go to in-out channel 1. So if you've selected the item in the report, go to in-out channel 1 and you can see that it's adding it, and then test complete content, and now it's gone green. The BICOM started up again, and it's testing those 3 items being sent all at once to a patient. So some people say to us, how many ampules can I treat at once? Well, this is a good way to be able to test it. So you can put everything in the cup to see if they still need that. Again, you can see that this has gone a slightly different colour, and if you just click it, it turns it off again, and you can empty the cup as well. You can do exactly the same thing in the honeycomb. So again, if we go in out channel 2, select the next one, in out channel 2, select the next one, in out channel 2. You can also, once you've put something in here, you can check the amplification. So let's say, well, I'd like to give this at 30 amplification, and then say test using channel 2. This is now coming through channel 2, so the modulation mat on the BICOM. If you've got the Optima Plus, it'll come out of the red cable as well. And we're now testing all those things in the honeycomb and at the required amplification. So again, that's very useful. And you can do multiple things as well, which we'll discuss in later videos. So in other words, you can have this full, you can have the honeycomb full, and you can test both channels together as well. So I'm going to delete everything out of here, and to do that you go in, out, select the substance again to clear channel 2. So now let's look at how you would deliver a therapy for this, because if you're used to using the older system, you could have the therapy button was here, but now you need to go back up to therapy and click therapy, and here you'll see that the substances, and that's where the CTT substances are now in this tab here. But I'm just going to keep this tidy. I'm going to go delete all just to keep this tidy. Substances, and we can see here the tested substances. Now if we just selected one and tried to move it across here, nothing happens because we've got no program here. If we wanted to use program 198, which is the 10-minute program, we'd put that in here, and that's A. And what we can do then is, if we wanted to treat these substances, we have to not click, is we can click this arrow here. So we can go here and click the arrow again, and we can build up everything in this list. So you can see that's a good way of doing it. So that's very easy. Before you used to have to click and drag them to different things, but now you can do it this way. If we put a pause in, we could run another program. If we had ones here that were in versions, I'll show you this as well. If you had some AI, you'd need to make sure you put AI here. Let's try that. If I go back here and say we'll test parasites, intestinal parasites. Now again, grey ampules are always on AI, and how we know that is we've gone to the manual, but we can also use the start automatic mode here, and it says it's a simplified test method. Do you want to continue? Yes, we do. We want to go to parasites. It's checking the mat again because those were in the settings. Now if you notice, it's clicked itself onto the AI, so it's already changed the program 191. So I'm going to go to negative, and I'll just fly through these quickly so that you can see. Apply, negative, 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 and then I'm going to go end automatic mode. I don't want all the ampules tested, I only want the positive, and again I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to go back to the therapy, and you'll see we've got an AI here. Now if I tried to put the AI ampule into the A, there should be a warning message, and here it is. It says different therapy modes. In other words, you're trying to add the parasites, which is AI, to the A program. So that's good to be able to cancel that. Now you can proceed to do that if you were trying to provide a provocation first, but it's not usually the case. So to do this effectively, we've got the pause program here. We now need 197, and I'm going to move, let's highlight that, and I'm going to move the parasite ampule here into 197. So we don't even need a pause here, because with CTT you're only using the modulation mat on the back, or you might have another electrode as an output. Nothing's been read from the patient, so we could delete that pause, and the BICOM would automatically go from A mode for 10 minutes treating these, and then it would go to AI and treat the parasites for 10 minutes. So again, if we've run all those things, it will store in the patient record. So I'll simulate that, and we'll just simulate running through all these, and it's stopped. And then if we go back to the patient, it's recorded here what we did, and it's actually put the substances as well, the actual CTT results here. So we treated the circulation fire and small intestine, and we inverted the parasites. So really comprehensive. The CTT method has advanced quite substantially, and in the next video we're going to take this a step further and show you other things that you can do with the CTT, which includes things like adding the EAP values. So if you use the EAP, you can test the single substances and record the EAP values too. To test what items you have licensed and that your codes are working correctly, if you go to extras here and about, in this screen it tells you what current pilot version you're on and your customer number and your dongle number. So these obviously need to be in correctly, or you will be just in demo mode anyway. But as you move down here, scroll down, it will show you all the CTT test kits that you have purchased. It's worth noting that if you bought a digital version from us, you click add license and you copy and paste the license key. This is the same if you've ordered one kit, then it will enter the license for that one kit. If you've ordered more than two, then all of the kits will be on a single license key. So this is where you add your license, and when you've pressed OK, it will then say that they're licensed and they will show up here. So if you've bought kits that are not showing up on here, you need to contact us and we will make sure that you've got all the correct licenses. Also, it's important that you back up your database. So if you go to backup here, make sure it's been backed up fairly regularly. We have it so that when you close the pilot, it backs up. So that's important to do that, and those license codes will be kept safe. For slightly more advanced users, if you've manually selected these therapy modes, you can actually change the amplification as well. So we recommend testing and giving a therapy on 10 times amplification, but you may decide that if you've got a particularly weak patient, you might select 5, for instance. And then when you start if you click on the ampule and test it then that will start testing at 5 times amplification and make a record of it as well. So that's useful to know that you have that option available to you. This is not the case if you're running in automatic mode, because the minute you select automatic mode, it overwrites everything that you've set here. So it will automatically pick the A, it will automatically do 10 times amplification. Just to explain a little bit about the automatic test mode, while you've got the prompts selected here, and just to change that as well, if you don't want these messages coming up, if you go to CTT options in extras, you can turn off show tooltips, but for now I'm going to leave those on. And if we go to start automatic mode, it is actually telling you what you're doing. The automatic mode is a simplified method. You want to continue? Yes. Now test 1, determining the disturbed elements. So this will just go through each of the elements. So if we get a resonance there, we go apply, let's say maybe negative, negative, apply, negative. So it's only tested the elements and it's found that fire and water is stressed. Now it's okay, well, what are the elements for those? So we're going to go apply for that. So now it's cross-checking between each of the elements. So this can take a bit of time because it's checking each one. Then now we're going to go down through the meridians just for those stressed elements. So we're going negative, 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 apply, negative. And now it's cross-checking. You can see what's happening. So it's got fire in the input cup and water in the honeycomb. Now the honeycomb is only a 1 amplification. The input is a 10 times amplification. So it's now seeing which is the priority. So again, you need to know more about this on the CTT course. It's not something that we're going to explain on the videos. Again here, priority couldn't be determined. Do you want to repeat the step? So you can repeat it. So for new beginners, it's a very complex way of testing this, and we're just only showing you that so that you know why we're just suggesting now just to do the simple ampule tests. So that concludes this initial introduction to the CTT testing. The next videos will show you how to do more testing of some of the kits and how to be able to run a therapy using the substances that you've found in channel 1, but also some of the substances in channel 2, the honeycomb. So we'll be able to dive a bit more deeper into effective therapy sessions with CTT.